Okay, let's unpack this. If you're trying to find the genuine beating heart of Britain, I mean, not the Buckingham Palace version, but the one where life actually happens. You can probably skip the museums. You have to go to the pub.
Absolutely. It's the one essential, unshakable social institution. It's the cornerstone of community life. And it's so much more complex than just a place to grab a drink.
Right.
And what's fascinating here is that the public house, it's survived wars, industrial revolutions, all sorts of legislative interference, precisely because it is so functional.
It's adaptable.
It is. It's a centuries-old cultural hub, really rooted in the very fabric of local society. And so today's deep dive is based on a complete guide to British pub culture, and it's specifically tailored for you, the learner, to gain confidence and, well, real cultural insight.
And our mission really is to take you from being that person who's sort of hovering awkwardly near a busy bar, not sure how to order, how to join a conversation.
We've all seen that person.
Oh, yeah. And we want to get you to someone who is comfortable, fluent in the unspoken etiquette, and knows their lager from their ale. We are basically giving you the shortcut to cultural integration.
A vital shortcut.
Because, trust me, the rules are specific, and getting them wrong can lead to maximum awkwardness.
Indeed. We really need to start by understanding the whole architecture of the pub experience. So I think let's begin with the foundation, the history, the different types, and its importance.
Okay, so when we talk about a pub, we're not just talking about a bar or tavern as you might find in, say, North America or other parts of Europe. This is a very specific, deeply historic model. So what makes the British pub fundamentally different?
It's all about its established role. It's a traditional meeting place, and it's basically replaced the functions that were once held by, Village Green or the town hall, or even historically, the church.
That's a really good way to put it.
It's a space for conversation, for relaxation, and just for communal gathering. It's very distinct from a place that's purely designed for just consuming alcohol.
That historical weight is just incredible. I mean, the sources remind us that pubs have been around for hundreds of years, tracing their lineage all the way back to Roman taverns and medieval alehouses.
Yeah.
They had to be robust social hubs to survive that long.
They did. And that longevity, it just speaks to their adaptability and their central position in community life.
Right.
When you walk into a pub, you're really participating in a historical continuum.
Right.
The source material highlights that people use them for everything. Celebrating major life events, watching sports, football, rugby, cricket, and even conducting informal business meetings. They are the ultimate democratic space.
And you can feel that just by looking at the architecture of these places. The vibe changes completely depending on what type of pub you walk into. It's like a spectrum of historical preservation versus modern efficiency.
Let's analyze that architectural spectrum then. And we should start with the classic ideal, the traditional pub. These are the image that pops into most people's minds. They're often housed in very old buildings, some of them dating back centuries, and they're characterized by, low ceilings, dark wood paneling, maybe slightly dim lighting.
And always a fireplace.
Oh, typically a roaring fireplace in the colder months, yes.
They intentionally cultivate that cozy, almost secretive feeling. Why the low ceilings historically? I've always found that a charming detail.
Well, it was functional. Originally, before we had modern central heating, those low ceilings helped trap heat from the fire. It made the space more economically viable and just, more comfortable during those long, cold British winters.
That makes perfect sense.
And their names also signal their age and status. They often relate to heraldry, royalty, local geography. Think the Red Lion, which is one of the most common pub names. That dates back to the royal heraldic symbol of James I.
They really do feel like cultural artifacts. Now let's contrast that with the modern pubs.
The modern pub, well, it represents a shift towards maximizing viewing comfort and throughput. They have newer designs, contemporary, often lighter furniture, and they're almost always dominated by large flat-screen TVs. And they're specifically placed for major sporting events.
Right, so it's more about the function of watching something.
Exactly. They prioritize a brighter, more open aesthetic, but sometimes they sacrifice that intimate, historic feel for sheer convenience and visibility.
Then we have that interesting evolution that sort of bridges the gap between the functional and the culinary.
Yeah.
The gastropub.
Ah, the gastropub. This is where the focus shifts equally onto the quality of the food.
Right.
They emerged very strongly in the 1990s as a response to the often derided quality of traditional pub grub.
I think that's a fair description.
So they still maintain the casual atmosphere of a pub, but they employ professional chefs, and they aim for restaurant-quality cooking. While you can certainly go to a gastropub just for a drink, you are, expected to find an elevated, superior culinary experience there.
That's a crucial distinction for anyone traveling, I think. Because if you are looking for a guaranteed great meal, the gastropub is your target. Whereas a traditional pub meal is more about hearty, reliable comfort.
Precisely. And then, contrasting the gastropub's high quality with maximum efficiency, we have the chain pubs. These belong to large national companies, and the source mentioned Wetherspoons as the ubiquitous example.
And the chain pubs are often the first stop for many travelers or students because of one overriding factor, consistency and price.
Yes, they standardize the experience across the entire country. The menu, the layout, and most importantly, the price will be reliably low.
So you know exactly what you're getting.
You do. And they are popular because they offer unparalleled cost effectiveness, though they do, by their nature, sacrifice some of that unique local character that defines the traditional public house. It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Cultural uniqueness for economic reliability.
And finally, we can't forget the charm of the country pubs. These are located in rural areas, villages, market towns.
The location absolutely defines their function. They serve the immediate local community and often cater to visitors who might be hiking or cycling through the area.
Yeah, you see them out in the middle of nowhere sometimes.
You do. And they usually feature large outdoor spaces, gardens, and beautiful views. The atmosphere is generally more relaxed, perhaps a bit quieter during the day, making them perfect destinations after a long ramble in the countryside.
So we've covered the foundation. It's a social space, it's a community center, and it comes in these, 5 distinct historical and architectural flavors?
That's right.
Now, we have to move to the most critical section for any learner, the crucial unwritten rules of etiquette. This is where we save you from the awkward stares.
This transition is so key because the difference in operational etiquette is, I think, the single biggest stumbling block for visitors.
That first rule is the ultimate cultural shock. It's the guaranteed mistake if you don't know it. Ordering at the bar. I want you to just erase all memory of American-style bars or continental European cafes.
This is non-negotiable. In British pubs, there is absolutely, fundamentally, NO table service for ordering. Not for drinks, not for food.
None.
You must approach the bar yourself. The historical reason for this is just efficiency and lower labor costs.
Yeah.
Pubs want to maximize service speed during busy times. If you sit at a table and wait for a staff member to come take your order,
You'll be waiting a very long time.
you're just displaying that you do not understand the system and you will wait indefinitely.
You literally will not get served. I remember a friend of mine, a first-time visitor from abroad, she waited 30 minutes at a table in a busy London pub, thinking the bartender was just intentionally ignoring her.
Oh no.
She was deeply offended, when in reality, she was just adhering to the wrong cultural script.
That's a perfect illustration of the culture clash.
Yeah.
The bar is the nexus of commerce. You go there, you order, you pay immediately, and then you take your items back to your table.
And once you actually get to the bar, you run into the next complex social contract, the invisible queue. British people are legendary for their ability to queue, but at a crowded bar, the queue becomes invisible. It relies heavily on nonverbal communication.
It's an act of collective observation. You have to pay attention to who arrived before you. There won't be a single file line. Instead, people cluster in a loose semicircle around the busiest parts of the bar. Your task is to accurately determine the waiting order.
And the etiquette here is so subtle. You shouldn't lean aggressively over the bar trying to intercept the bartender's gaze while they're serving the person ahead of you.
No. The practical advice is to wait patiently, but visibly. You signal your readiness by positioning yourself parallel to the bar, usually slightly behind the person currently being served. The moment that transaction is finished, you should make polite yet firm eye contact with the bartender.
And they'll see you.
They will. They'll mentally acknowledge you, often with a slight nod or a brief, "Be with you in a minute."
Crucially, avoid shouting, snapping your fingers, waving money, or attempting to attract attention with loud noises. That is seen as pushy, disrespectful, and it just suggests you believe your time is more valuable than everyone else's. Patience is a virtue, and the system rewards the patient observer.
And once you are serving drinks, if you are in a group, You must master the most binding social contract of the public house, the rounds system.
This is truly essential social etiquette. When you are drinking with a group, even just 2 or 3 people, the expectation is that one person buys a round of drinks for the entire group.
And then the next person takes the following round, and so on.
Exactly.
The obligation is deeply reciprocal. As a learner integrating into this culture, the moment you accept a drink from someone, you have incurred a debt. It is a social responsibility that must be honored.
It must.
Failing to buy your round is a fast track to being labeled tight, which is a term we'll define later, but trust us, it's not complimentary.
No, it is not. It's not just about fairness. It's a form of community bonding, a test of friendship, and a system of public accountability. If you're drinking heavily, the round system encourages everyone to keep pace and keeps things moving efficiently at the bar.
Right.
But what if you're on a budget, or you simply don't want to drink that much? How do you gracefully decline a round? That's the hard part.
That's the nuanced cultural tightrope walk, isn't it? You can't just say, no thanks, I'm good. That can be interpreted as cold or, standoffish. The best, most acceptable way to opt out is to establish early that you are the designated driver, even if you're not, with a simple, oh, no thanks, I'm driving tonight, so I'll stick to this soda for now.
That excuse is almost universally accepted and respected because it demonstrates responsibility.
It does.
But if you are participating, the key phrase to know is simply, my round. That's you confidently stepping up and fulfilling your social duty. It immediately signals that you understand the culture.
It's a moment of integration. It's moving you beyond mere consumption to genuine participation in the pub's social machinery.
Now, let's move on to another area of massive cultural confusion for international visitors. Tipping. This is what we call the anti-American rule, especially for drinks.
Unlike in countries where tips form the core of a bartender's wages, tipping is generally not expected for drinks in a British pub. The bar staff are paid a living wage. You pay for your drinks, and that's the end of the transaction.
This is a huge relief for the learner, I think, as it removes that layer of calculation and anxiety after every single transaction.
Exactly. Now, if you ordered food and you received table service for that food, a small voluntary tip might be left, maybe 10 to 15%, but even that is not strictly required, just appreciate it.
But there is a wonderful, peculiar little phrase that exists in place of a cash tip, specifically for the person behind the bar, and one for yourself.
Ah, yes. This phrase is a relic of older, more informal times. By saying, and one for yourself, when you pay, you are literally offering to buy the bartender a drink.
So they get a drink.
Well, they don't typically pause to drink it right then, especially during busy hours. Instead, they usually add the price of a standard drink, perhaps a pint or the average cost of a shot to your bill. So it effectively functions as a small, culturally sanctioned bonus.
It's a very classy, indirect way to say thank you for good service. But don't feel obligated to use it. It's a nice gesture, not a requirement.
Right.
And it's important to differentiate. If you just hand over cash and say, keep the change, that's fine. But saying, and one for yourself, shows, the specific cultural language of appreciation in that environment.
So we've learned how to behave, how to order, and how to pay. Let's talk about the products themselves and the language used to acquire them. We are moving into the details of Section 3, Mastering the Pub Language and Drink Menu.
Okay, first, we need to talk about the window of opportunity. Pub opening hours and closures are governed by a historical framework, even if the strict laws have relaxed a bit.
Historically, hours were notoriously strict, often set rigidly from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and that was largely due to World War I legislation designed to maximize industrial efficiency.
Right, keep people out of the pub during the workday.
Exactly. Those laws have changed, but many traditional pubs still adhere to that 11 p.m. or midnight closing time, especially on weekdays.
Which means the end of the night is signaled by specific, often very loud calls from the staff. You have to recognize these auditory cues.
The first and the most crucial call is last orders.
The bell rings.
Yes, often with a bell. This is announced loudly by the bartender or manager, typically 15 to 20 minutes before closing time. This is your final chance, absolutely your last opportunity to purchase any drinks, whether it's a full round for your friends or just a final half pint for yourself.
If you miss last orders, you are done for the night. And then, once that window closes, you get the absolute final signal. Time, please, or the more explicit, drinking up time.
And this is the signal that you must finish whatever drink you have in front of you and make preparations to leave the premises very soon. Staff will begin clearing glasses and asking people to wrap up their conversations. It is an unambiguous end to the evening.
And lingering after time, please, is considered quite impolite.
Very impolite.
Now let's get to the true cultural deep dive on beverages, understanding British beer and ale. And this leads us directly to the great temperature surprise that shocks nearly every first-time visitor.
We have to define the categories here clearly. First, there is lager. This is what most international visitors think of as beer. It's typically pale, highly carbonated, or fizzy, and served aggressively chilled.
Ice cold.
Often from a metal keg that is stored in refrigeration. Think brands like Stella Artois, Carling, or Heineken.
Okay, that's standard. But the traditional, historically significant British drink is bitter or ale, and this is where the surprise lives. It is served at a specific temperature.
That specific temperature is cellar temperature, which translates to about 11 to 13 degrees Celsius, or 52 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which feels like room temperature.
To someone accustomed to icy lagers, yes, it feels like room temperature. And crucially, traditional ale, often referred to as cask ale or real ale, is not served with external carbon dioxide pressure, which gives it less fizz.
Why is that temperature so critical? If I, as a learner, see a flat, warmish pint, my instinct is to assume it's gone bad.
And that's the classic mistake. Real ale is served warm because it is still biologically active in the pub cellar. It's undergoing a secondary natural fermentation inside the cask. It is, for lack of a better word, living beer.
Okay.
If you chilled it down to near freezing, you would shock the yeast, halt the fermentation, and you would mute all the complex, often fruity or nutty, flavors that are derived from the malt and hops.
So the warmth is not a mistake. It's a necessary component for the flavor profile of a quality cask ale like London Pride or Green King IPA.
Exactly.
So if you ask for a traditional ale to be chilled or for ice in your beer, you are committing a major cultural faux pas. You're just showing ignorance of the tradition.
A huge one. It's a hallmark of the pub culture. Also under the banner of beer, we have stout, dark, heavy, creamy beers like Guinness, which are famous for their nitro pour.
Beautiful.
And finally, don't forget cider, the popular alcoholic apple beverage like Strongbow or Magners, which is often served cold and is a fantastic alternative for non-beer drinkers.
We mentioned precision earlier, and that carries over to measurements, so pints versus halves. You need to know the terms to avoid getting too much or too little.
The standard serving size for beer or cider is a pint, which is legally mandated to be 568 milliliters.
Which is about 20 fluid ounces?
Roughly, yes. And this measurement is a point of national pride, legally enshrined by the UK Weights and Measures Act.
So if you want to drink slower, maybe you're sampling multiple ales, you ask for a half pint.
Yes, which is 284 milliliters, about 10 ounces. It's perfectly acceptable to order a half, especially if you're driving or just pacing yourself.
And this measurement specificity extends to everything else.
Right. It does. Wine is typically served in small, medium, or large glasses. That's 125, 175, or 250 milliliters. And when you're ordering spirits, you must specify whether you want a single measure, which is 25 milliliters, or a double measure, which is 50 milliliters. This just avoids ambiguity and ensures you get exactly the potency you intended.
Okay, we know the rules, we know the drinks. Now let's put it all together with the essential ordering phrases. Confidence at the bar comes from preparation and clear communication.
When you approach the bar, having identified your spot in the invisible queue, your goal is to get the bartender's attention without being aggressive.
So you start simple and polite. Excuse me, please.
And you wait for their acknowledgement, which will often be a simple yes or what can I get you? Do not shout your order until they are actively looking at you.
Right. Once they're ready, be direct and specific. If you're playing it safe, the essential starting script for the learner is, can I have a pint of lager, please?
Clear, concise, and non-offensive.
If you've done your research and you know the brand you want, don't generalize. Use the name. A pint of Stella, please. Or, if you're ordering spirits, be precise about the quantity. A double gin and tonic, please. And specify the brand of gin if you have a preference.
But maybe you want to integrate further and show respect for the local selection, especially if you're in a traditional pub. You might inquire, what beers do you have on tap? Or what ales do you recommend?
That shows genuine curiosity about their specific offerings.
It does.
And when the transaction is complete, keep the payment phase brief. Ask how much is that? And then confirm the method. Can I pay by card? Or the fastest method of all, contactless, please.
The more smoothly you navigate the order and payment, the more confidently you present yourself. This whole sequence, the queuing, ordering, measurements, paying, it's the central performance of the pub.
Yeah.
Mastering it means you've essentially conquered that initial cultural hurdle.
Drinks secured. Now let's talk fuel. We are moving on to section 4. Hearty pub grub and ordering food. The traditional pub food vibe is, as we noted, hearty and filling. It's almost like traditional peasant food elevated into comfort food.
Historically, pub food needed to serve multiple functions. It needed to be relatively cheap, easy to cook in bulk, and substantial enough to line the stomachs of patrons who were drinking heavily over long sessions.
Yet it's functional food.
It is. The menu is generally reliable and predictable, focusing on classics that don't require a fancy presentation.
So let's detail the components of these iconic meals, because knowing what's in a dish prevents any ordering surprises.
We have to begin with the ultimate classic: fish and chips. This is usually cod or haddock, deep fried in a crispy batter, served with the essential thick-cut fried potatoes, which are called chips.
Not fries, chips.
Chips, and it usually comes with mushy peas, a traditional side dish of mashed, often bright green, marrow-fat peas, and tartar sauce.
And that distinction between crisps and chips must be constantly reinforced. If you ask for chips, you are getting fries. If you want a bag of Lay's, you ask for crisps.
Absolutely. Next, the weekend institution, the Sunday roast. As the name confirms, it is traditionally served only on Sunday. It features roasted meat beef, pork, chicken, or lamb, served with roasted potatoes, various vegetables, and covered in gravy.
But the star of the plate, and one that often confuses international diners, is the Yorkshire pudding. What exactly is this majestic item?
It's essentially a savory baked batter. It's made from eggs, flour, and milk, and it's traditionally cooked in the fat dripping from the roasting meat.
Oh, that's the secret.
That is, and it results in a light, crispy, cup-shaped item that is often described as a savory pancake or a popover. It's absolutely essential to a proper Sunday roast, and it's designed to soak up all that abundant gravy.
Moving to the simpler, colder options, you have the ploughman's lunch, a true historical artifact.
It's a cold meal consisting of a substantial chunk of cheese, some crusty bread, pickles, often pickled onions and gherkins, and a basic salad. Its history traces back to a simple, easily prepared lunch that a ploughman or a farmer could take to the field.
And 2 other classic combinations, bangers and mash. That's sausages, the bangers, served with mashed potatoes, the mash, and a rich onion gravy.
Simple, warming, delicious.
It is. And then the deep, comforting pastry items. Pie and mash, or the ubiquitous steak and ale pie. These feature beef slow-cooked in a rich gravy, often made with dark ale, encased in either short crust or puff pastry. It is the epitome of cold weather comfort food.
It really is.
But you don't always want a full meal. We need to know the crucial pub snacks for when you just want a quick bite to accompany your pint.
Okay, so we must reinforce the language barrier.
Yeah.
You must ask for crisps if you want potato chips.
Right.
And let's detail the unique British snacks. We have pork scratchings. These are chunks of fried pork skin, often with the layer of fat still attached. They are extremely crunchy, very salty, and definitely an acquired taste.
Definitely. But a classic bar snack. And then the impressive Scotch egg. A hard-boiled egg wrapped entirely in seasoned sausage meat, coated in breadcrumbs, and then deep fried. A quality Scotch egg will have a slightly runny yolk, but they are often served cold as a snack.
So when ordering food, we still follow the primary rule. You go to the bar. But what are the specific phrases needed to navigate the food service process?
Once you've secured the bartender's attention, you make your intention clear. I'd like to order food, please.
Simple enough.
And if it's late or close to their expected serving cutoff, always check, does the kitchen stop serving soon?
Good tip. It's also wise to clarify exactly what's on the plate to avoid surprises. If you order a classic dish, you could ask, does this come with chips?
Yes. And increasingly common and necessary, if you have dietary restrictions, you should politely inquire, is this available as a vegetarian option, or is this gluten-free? Pubs are generally good about accommodating requests, but they need to be asked directly at the bar.
By the time you've navigated the queue, ordered the right temperature of ale, understood the round system, and ordered a proper plate of bangers and mash, you are practically a local.
Almost. Now for the highest level challenge, social dynamics and language deep dive.
Okay.
How do you interact in this reserved yet fundamentally communal space? Let's address the paradox of social etiquette. It's reserved, but welcoming.
The general British personality does tend towards reservation. However, the pub atmosphere is designed to soften those boundaries. Once a few pints have been poured, the social energy rises. It is perfectly acceptable, in fact, it's encouraged to chat with strangers, especially if you are standing near the bar or sharing a table.
This is your absolute best opportunity to practice natural, fast-paced English, listening to varied accents and informal speech. but you need appropriate entry points for conversation.
Right, stick to the safe conversation starters. The weather is the eternal British subject and always a winner. Sports, particularly football, rugby, or cricket, are great if you have a passing knowledge. And local events or just the quality of the specific beer you are drinking are also appropriate.
I would strongly advise against diving into heavy political opinions, religion, or personal complex issues with strangers. Just keep it light, external, and non-controversial.
And if someone engages you, it is polite to maintain the conversation. And reinforcing the etiquette from before, if someone offers to buy you a drink, the social obligation is strong. It is polite to accept, lest you offend them by implying you don't wish to be friends.
Right. Beyond conversation, we need to master the geography of the seating area. In busy pubs, you can't just assume a spot is free.
No. Never take a table if there are drinks, a coat, or any personal belongings left there. That's claimed territory, even if the person just stepped away briefly to use the restroom or order another round.
So the simple, polite phrase is your best tool.
Is this seat taken?
Exactly. Let's also highlight two key architectural features that speak to the history of social dynamics. We mentioned the beer garden, which is the outdoor space, essential in summer, but let's talk about the snug.
The snug is a fascinating historical feature. It was a small, often secluded room or booth, traditionally near the bar, but separated by frosted glass or partition.
And what was it for?
Historically, it was reserved for women, before it was considered acceptable for women to sit in the main bar area, or for people who wanted privacy, perhaps a local police officer, a vicar, or someone conducting a quiet, private business meeting.
That's a brilliant nugget of history. Today, the snug is simply the coziest, most sought-after corner of the pub.
It is. If you find an empty one, claim it quickly.
Speaking of corners and crowds, we need to address the noise challenge. Pubs can be very noisy, especially during peak hours or on sports days, and the variety of British regional accents can be overwhelming for a learner.
It's a volume and dialect test combined. Our advice is simple but crucial. Speak clearly and maintain eye contact with the person serving you. If they are regional, their accent might be thick.
And don't panic and nod blindly. That just leads to mistakes.
Right. If you genuinely cannot understand them, use the recovery phrases we mentioned earlier. Sorry, I didn't catch that, or could you repeat that, please?
Or a variation like, could you say that a bit slower, please? That demonstrates active listening rather than just asking them to repeat the entire sentence.
Good point.
Now for the pure joy of the pub, the language itself, let's dive into the pub slang spotlight. Knowing these terms is the real shortcut to understanding the casual conversation happening around you.
Let's start with invitations. If someone asks you, fancy a pint, they are casually asking, would you like to go for a beer?
It's a spontaneous, common invitation.
Very. And then we move to the colorful descriptive terms for states of intoxication. If someone is plastered or legless, they are extremely heavily drunk.
Right, they're having significant difficulty moving or speaking.
We have slang that describes specific social phenomena. Dutch courage is a classic phrase, meaning drinking alcohol to feel braver or more confident, often to overcome shyness before a difficult social encounter.
And going back to the rounds system, the ultimate insult within a drinking group is being labeled tight. If you are tight, you are cheap or unwilling to spend money, particularly when it comes to fulfilling your obligation to buy a round.
A terrible label to get.
Yeah.
And the functional terms are essential for etiquette.
Yeah.
Get around in means to buy drinks for everyone in the group.
And the indispensable multi-purpose word, cheers,
Yes.
cheers, is the quintessential pub Swiss Army knife of words. It's used as a toast before drinking, but in many contexts it simply means thank you.
It does. When a bartender hands you your change, if you say cheers, they know you mean thank you.
Understanding that dual purpose is vital. It's an easy, friendly word to adopt immediately to sound more integrated. We've established the rules, the drinks, the food, and the language. Let's wrap up with Section 6. Regional differences, safety, and the common mistakes we need to drill into your memory.
Pub culture, like all culture, varies regionally. Understanding these regional flavors prepares you for slight shifts in atmosphere and focus.
In England, we noted that clear line between London and the north. London pubs are expensive, often catering to a more transient, professional crowd.
Whereas northern pubs are famous for their incredibly friendly atmospheres, they emphasize community warmth and have significantly cheaper prices. The emphasis on real ale can also be stronger outside the capital.
Moving across the border, Scotland often features a strong emphasis on whiskey alongside their beers.
Yes. Yeah, you'll see a lot more whiskey. The atmosphere is generally very social, and you'll find a tradition of welcoming banter or craik with strangers. It's often more immediately forthcoming than in the reserved south of England.
In Wales, pubs are generally similar to English traditional pubs in their layout and menu, but due to the strong commitment to preserving local identity, you may frequently encounter Welsh language signage.
And often a focus on local Welsh microbreweries.
Right. And in Northern Ireland, the culture truly emphasizes music and storytelling. You are very likely to find traditional music sessions occurring spontaneously in pubs, especially on weekends.
Which turns the space into an impromptu concert and storytelling venue. The atmosphere focuses heavily on high energy and robust conversation.
Beyond geography, certain days fundamentally transform the pub. Let's list the special occasions. Pub quizzes are huge.
Very popular. They offer a structured, fun, low-pressure way to practice English and local knowledge, usually taking place on quiet nights like a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Weekends often feature live music, ranging from cover bands to traditional folk musicians, and then you have the high-traffic days. The entire Christmas period is exceptionally busy and festive, decorated with lights and filled with office parties.
Bank holidays, the official public holidays, mean everyone is off work and heading to the pub, especially if the weather is good and the beer garden is open.
And of course, football match days, particularly involving the national team or a major local derby, transform the pub into a packed, highly energetic, sometimes rowdy viewing stadium.
You have to plan your visit accordingly on those days.
You do. Now, a serious but vital point. Safety and responsible drinking. The source mentions that British drinking culture, particularly fueled by the round system, can be intense. The pressure to keep up can be significant.
And you must feel empowered to decline rounds or stick to soft drinks without guilt. It is perfectly acceptable to order non-alcoholic drinks, drink slowly, or use the polite phrases for moderation. This is about knowing your limits, especially given the different alcohol measurements.
So use the firm but polite phrases. "I'm driving" is the common, accepted, and instant reason to order a soft drink.
No one will question that.
Or, if you want to stay on beer but slow down, state clearly, "Just a half for me, please."
Yeah.
Do not let social pressure override your safety.
And when the night concludes, especially if you've been drinking, prioritize getting home safely. Book taxis in advance on busy nights, know your night bus or train schedules, and walking in groups is always the safest option. Be mindful that pubs close abruptly after time, please.
Right. Finally, let's revisit the big mistakes to avoid. These are the 5 critical points that, if you remember nothing else, will ensure you navigate the British pub with confidence.
Mistake number 1, the worst cultural error: waiting at a table for service.
You must order at the bar. If you're thirsty, you must move your feet.
Mistake number 2, expecting cold ale. If you order bitter or traditional cask ale, it will be served at cellar temperature. Do not ask for it to be chilled or complain that it is warm.
That's the sign of a true outsider.
It is. Mistake number 3, not participating in rounds. If you accept a drink from a group member, you have a firm social responsibility to buy the next one back. Fail to do so, and you risk being labeled tight.
Not good. Mistake number 4, asking for ice in beer.
Just don't. This is simply not done, particularly in traditional ale. Stick to your pint being unadulterated.
And mistake number 5, tipping excessively. It is not expected for drinks. A small tip for good food service is appreciated, but the "and one for yourself" phrase is the only specific gesture expected for the bartender.
Okay, that was a truly immersive deep dive. We've covered the centuries of history, the nuances of the round system, the essential distinction between cask and keg, the specific names of your food, and the critical need to master that invisible cue.
The pub, ultimately, is a masterclass in reading social cues and listening to rapid, unscripted English. The 3 major lessons for you, the learner, today are drilled in. Order at the bar, respect the round system, and accept that traditional ale is not served cold.
And our final thought for you to take away and mull over is this: when you enter that environment, focus on clear communication over achieving perfect grammar. Bartenders and locals understand that you are learning. Be polite, be respectful, and be willing to genuinely engage. That willingness to learn and participate will be appreciated far more than flawless vocabulary.
Now go forth, confidently identify your spot in that invisible queue, and order yourself a proper pint. Whether it's a cold lager or a room temperature ale, you've got this.
As they say in the public house.